There comes a time when most people experience some form of hair loss, and in men especially, this can be quite the tragedy. Where most people see a bald man smiling and having a good time, beneath that, there is simply an empty shell of a man. Personally, I've experienced this with family members, and it's really like having a horse that one day just broke its leg after having a tumble. And you don't want to, but ultimately you know it's for the best if it's put out of its misery. Now before we get into the video, I think it's important to say that just because a YouTuber uses scientific terms and sounds like they know what they're talking about, most likely they're just a narcissist exploiting you for views. Of course, I wouldn't do this to you, which is why I'm announcing an exclusive guide to get your hair and wife's love back now that you're a walking potato, which you can get for only £999 in the description. Don't worry, you can trust me. After all, I have 340 subscribers. Jesus only ever had 12 and people loved him. So without further ado, I talk a lot about the toxicity of the modern lifestyle, which when comparing it to indigenous tribes, an epidemic of epidemics arise. It is important to understand, first of all, that the hair is still there when balding. It's just that the follicles pretty much do an Anne Frank and go into hiding. One of the main things to avoid is anything which causes calcification of the scalp, primarily caused by calcium deposits and hard water. Hard water is pretty much any water which feels hard. What a genius I am to figure this out. This is caused by a high density of calcium, which when absorbed by the scalp limits function. I recommend simply getting a water softener, which also makes your hair softer and easier to manage. Similarly, too much calcium in the diet, known as hypercalcemia, also leads to calcium deposits and build up in places such as the scalp where it can cause harm. When combined with inflammation, you'll find there's a degenerative cycle of scalp hardening and irritation until healthy blood flow is completely restricted. In order to overcome this, it is essential to exercise frequently, and I recommend doing daily handstands in order to directly target the blood flow to the scalp. The same goes for cold showers, which not only increase the blood circulation to the scalp, but seal the pores, preventing the natural oils from being washed away. In addition, when showering, most guys will just chuck in some cheap shampoo and a wad of Lynx, an in-out job done like a real man who has bitch tits because of the hormone disruptors. God forbid anyone use shampoo without parabens or sulfates, or dare use an all-natural handmade soap bar to reduce inflammation, because that'd be pretty gay, innit? In actuality, I cannot recommend handmade bars of soap enough. Unless you're in prison, too risky. Other things to avoid are high heat and tied hairstyles, or uses of hats, which will simply restrict blood flow and strain the hair roots. A method to overcome hair strain and reduce calcification, courtesy of Dmitry Tamwakin, is to use a wooden hairbrush. It is essential that it is wooden, as plastic will not only irritate the scalp, but it will cause the scalp to absorb microplastics. Then just simply massage your scalp twice a day for 3 to 5 minutes each time. One of the vitamins I recommend taking is K2, which not only increases bone plasticity for mewing, but it inhibits calcification of the skull by stimulating matrix GLA and MGP proteins in our body. Aside from that, the main source of hormonal imbalances and inflammation is in the diet. Throughout dentist Weston Price's life, one of his surprising discoveries was that these tribes who ate primarily animal fats, a diet which would be considered fatal according to the food pyramid, not only did they have astounding health, but there was an absence of hair loss almost in its entirety. And personally, I believe that it was this anti-inflammatory diet with high bioavailability which made the difference between balding and thick, dense hair, especially when combining it with an active, low-stress lifestyle. One of the most important vitamins in their diet, due to being in the sun all of the time, is vitamin D3. Now, vitamin D deficiency also plays a role in alopecia, and especially in women, research shows that thinning of the hair is caused by lower levels of vitamin D. Now I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here and guess that a good amount of the people watching just so happen to be basement dwelling incels, and you spend most of your life indoors hidden away like daddy's little monster. If you're in this position, I recommend taking a vitamin D3 supplement, or maybe just go outside. I highly recommend using Dr. Pen Dermapen A6, and after washing your hair, apply a bit of rubbing alcohol to damp hair. Insert the 42 pin needle, ensuring it is sanitized beforehand, and set the pen at the highest speed possible at 2.5mm to reduce pain. Run that on your temples and even your forehead, and what will happen is that this will not only increase collagen production, but it destroys the DHT in between the lower and upper follicles and allows hair to regrow. After, rinse the scalp with cool and soft water and apply minimal amounts of hyaluronic acid on the penetrated areas, and finally, after some time, finish with peppermint oil. Alternatively, for extra benefits, you can create a hair mask to apply instead using the following ingredients. Other than that, it's just pretty basic, really, and it's stuff like don't wash your hair too often, and if you're balding, apply 5% minoxidil daily in the morning and before bed. If you aren't balding, you really shouldn't be using minoxidil or finasteride for that, as the side effects such as premature aging and heart palpitations just aren't worth it in my opinion. It really is important to follow these tips in order to prevent balding as best you can, and if you can't do all of these things, just try your best to follow them. This isn't a magic cure, but I hope this video helps. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll respond. This has been Looksmax.